All right, let's start the meeting. So first, do we need to? Anything because of the map remote, so we're all set. Okay, road application review, 1276 and 1282 Route 28.
Yes, so we do have the applicant in attendance via Zoom. And Kathy Williams is here, the town planner. She provided a memo in your packet to give background on this. So I would say Mr. Tardif's here. Attorney Tardif is representing the applicant. Mr. Tardif, would you like to,
Just,
do you want him to, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, before you start, Mr. Tonic, can we just get just a quick version of what the road application is all about?
Well, yes, the road bylaw is an optional overlay district. And it covers the B1, B2, and B3 south of Route 6. And what it does is it allows for some flexibility with getting relief from the zoning bylaw through a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals versus something that might have been a variance, which is more difficult to get. But in exchange, we're looking for an enhanced design standard, meeting substantially adhering to the architectural and site design standards, not advisory, but actually substantially adhering to them. And one of the components is the economic benefit for the project. And typically but we're required to send the application to CEDC to get your input on how you feel with regard to the economic benefit, and then you typically provide some type of memo to the planning board when they have their public hearing, which is scheduled for June 15th.
Gotcha. Okay. Just, you've got enough faith on what the road applications are, but you're probably on top of that as well. You know,
It's coming to us next.
Yeah. Okay, Paul, you're on. You're up.
Okay, thank you. For the record, I'm Paul Tardif, an attorney in Yarmouthport. Also on the call is Hal Chuba, who's the professional engineer, and I believe Jay Ahmad might be on there as well. But just to give you an overview of what the project is, this is these are two lots down in South Yarmouth, almost across the street from the old D'Angelo's. There's a gas station, and there's also 5 cottages down there that need some help. The plan is to combine the 2 lots, and we're going to remove the gas station, remove the 5 houses down there, and then build a new gas station, convenience store, a new canopy, and we're going to have 4 rental units that are going to go on top of that. So it's a top of the shop type of thing that we've kicked around a lot. So, and there'll also be a drive-through that goes around the back. And I believe there's Dunkin' Donuts planning on coming in there because we can't live without our Dunkin' Donuts. So we've been through a number of reiterations on the plan. I think we're pretty good. I think we've been to a few meetings with a lot of input, and I think we've incorporated most of it. So any relief, like Kathy was saying about, any relief would require a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals if it made it through the planning board, is minimal. So that's the plan in general. We do have some economic benefits that I think that's more important for this board. First, we're going to go from, I think there's 2 employees who work at that property right now, and it's going to increase up to 10 employees. Second of all, the town of Yarmouth is going to benefit because we are going to have an upgraded septic system. There's currently 5 septic systems on the site, with 4 of them serving the residential units and 1 for the gas station with leaching pits. The proposed redevelopment will be 1 septic system for the proposed mixed building. Title V requirements will be met, and Board of Health regulations also. So, and that will be more than adequate to serve the property until the sewers get down there, which, I believe on 28th corridor, I think it's going to be it's going to be sooner than later. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to put any time on that. And then finally, there's also a total of 5 residential units on the site, of which 1 is a 2-bedroom and 4 of them are 1-bedroom dwellings, each built in about 1936. If you've seen them, you can tell. That's a total of 6 bedrooms. There's going to be a total of 4 new residential units, each with 2 bedrooms up on the 2nd floor. And I think that's going to be better in a way for some of our younger families. Instead of single people, we're going to have younger families that could stay and live down there on 28 hopefully within walking distance of work. or bus, use of public transportation to get to work. But the big thing is to keep our young families here, at least give them a safe, clean place. So the building's going to be sprinkled. And so I think that all those put together is going to be a very, very good economic benefit to the town, not to mention the fact that this is, that part of town does need some, I don't want to call them crown jewels, but probably. There's some good redevelopment going on behind there on Commercial Street. This is going to be up on 28, which I like. And it does need a little bit of help down there. So I think this might be, this could be the beginning of the dominoes falling. So I hope that that's the plan anyway. So if you have any questions, we're here to help you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Attorney Tardif, it's Maria Marasco. So you 10 employees, can you tell me the status? It's full-time, part-time? What do you think for off-season? And then what about this summer season?
Well, it's up to 10 employees. I know we're going to have, like I said, we're going to have a Dunkin' Donuts in there, which is going to put a lot of full-time employees in there. That never stops. I don't know if Hal or Jay can elaborate on some of the other jobs that are going to be created and their status. I never got that information. And I hope they're on.
Jay is here,
Jay,
if you're interested in. He just needs to mute himself if he wishes to speak.
Attorney, Jay's muted, so.
There he is.
Hi. Hi, yes, this is Jay. I'm sorry, I just logged in. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna have like 4 full-time employee on my side. Plus the Duncan's gonna have around 10 probably.
Okay, the reason I asked this is a former economic development person with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That was always the first question that we asked. So, and it's generally, full-time, part-time. Will the full-time employees have benefits? Such as, other than sick time, which is mandatory in Massachusetts. Sick time, health insurance, any types of those benefits?
So Jay, do you have the answer for that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
I'm wondering, of the full-time employees, other than sick time, which is mandatory in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, what other benefits do you intend to offer them?
Barbara, can you ask that question? Can you answer it?
It'd be the tenant that offers the benefits. These guys are the landlords, right?
No, both.
Both, okay.
I don't think they can answer the question on the.
Could, all right, if you don't have the answer, I would very much appreciate a follow-up to Kyle. Obviously that's not a deal breaker. However, it's very important that we understand that we want to have more full-time employment from my perspective, as well as improving the wages for these and all the jobs that we bring to Warren. So my second question is, so with regard to the residents, I guess I'm a little concerned about the kids playing in the parking lot. So is there some outdoor living space for them behind the building? I guess I see it, but I'm not really sure I am reading it right.
Yeah, is Hal, are you?
Yeah, I'm here, Attorney Tardif. Yeah, for the record, Hal Chuba, I'm a consulting engineer with offices in Dartmouth, Massachusetts. We do have a deck, a 5-foot deck all around the building and the back that could be used for outdoor activities. As far as play area, I don't believe we do have a play area for kids, as this is a gas station. I think most of the people that be living there, I would assume young couples with probably starting up with no kids, and then they probably move out once they have kids. Will be mostly, or will be mostly people that are working at the gas station or employees at the gas station. We see this happens all the time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Your folks, some of your folks have your mics open and, we just hear a lot of background noise. Thank you, Hal.
Anybody else? I'm good. So, just a couple of questions, Attorney. Paul,
Yep.
how are you going to market the units? Just strictly to the employees at Dunkin' Donuts and the gas station?
I'm not sure if there's any requirement for affordability, so I'm not sure if we're gonna have any obligation to market these other than just by the landlord's discretion.
But there's no requirement to do so, but, obviously, the situation here as far as housing goes, so. but if
Yeah.
you could give me- I know this is a small number of units that come online, but still anything helps out. And the other thing is, I just want to compliment you and your team. I know we met way back when, I think it was back in January, am I right?
January, very good.
Designer selection board, and we asked quite a bit of you guys then.
Mhm.
And according to Kathy, and what we see here, you met or exceeded a lot of the things that we asked for, so that's much appreciated. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? No. Okay, do we need to take a vote on? Okay, so I'll need a motion to approve the road application.
But you need to, identify that this is providing economic benefits and you support the project. It's really related to the economic.
I guess you want to ask the question, what's the current value of the property and what will the value of the property be after the improvements?
Right.
And therefore the taxation. Current value pre-development, value after the development.
We can get that to you, also to get that to Kyle along with the benefits. I don't think I have an estimate of after, yeah.
Well, what is the total construction dollar investment, which is a baseline?
The total construction cost, this is a 3,006. This is gonna be around $2.5 million, I believe.
No, I know that.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't.
just asking you.
No, I do not.
Right, okay. All right, so do we need?
You need to
Make a
go
motion.
to write a memo to the board, planning board with your recommendations with regard to the project.
Who wants to make
I'm in an awkward position because I've asked for some information which I don't have, and yet I also understand that you asked this group for this information ahead of time. So while I do generally think it's a worthwhile project in my neighborhood, by the way, it would be important for me if I had to make a recommendation to our Board of Selectmen regarding the economic benefits. One of the one criterion is to know the employee makeup. So,
I'll make a motion. I think there's enough information provided to us that this chair will make a motion to approve the application or approve them, make a motion to approve the memorandum as proposed to us based on the economic benefits that I see to the town of Yarmouth and the region of Yarmouth based on the information provided.
Okay, we have a motion. Before we have a second, is there any other questions? Or does that meet the requirements you're looking for? Okay, we have a second.
I actually would very much, I am going to vote in favor, but I would very much like that on conditioned upon the follow-up information provided to Kyle.
Okay. Okay,
It'd be helpful for us to
you
support
good
this.
with that?
I'm fine with it.
So there'll
Thank
be two conditions, one for real estate tax and one for employees.
That's right.
Full-time employees, is that what you're looking for?
The makeup of full-time employees to part-time employees and what benefits that each category will be offered.
Something.
I know all types of,
Okay.
any
Any benefits,
arrangement
right.
of
Okay.
benefits.
So we have a motion with the amended. So all those in favor?
Aye.
I have to abstain.
Abstain, no abstention. Is that okay, Kyle?
Yep.
Yeah. We're good. All those opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Attorney.
Tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so next up is discussion with Bill Scott, Assistant Town Administrator.
Does everybody have this that gets sent to them?
You,
or-
I think you sent it to everybody, yeah.
Yeah, do you have copies of it or?
So, Bill, before you get started, just so I'm clear what we're all doing here with you here today, is that, I know we want to update the,
We have a copy of it. I
Our
have mine
website.
on my desk.
What's that?
Do you have that?
Oh, yeah, I have one. I have only a few.
I just left mine on my desk, sorry.
so I know we want to update the CEDC website, which is great.
And that relates to the goals and objectives, essentially.
These goals and objectives are the CEDC goals.
They
and
would be
objectives?
yours. So right now you have the charge, which is something that the board wants to work on, which is on your website, which is the Board of Selectmen's charge to the committee. I have that, enough copies for that also.
I just have it, I have a couple of edits on this.
And then, so the existing charge is on the back, the one as given to me by the town administrator, and the chair is in the front. There's a few issues there. The council put in a few recommendations. Really, the charge is predominantly related to your ordinance and sort of a direction for that ordinance. Now, that's separate from what I'm proposing. I'm proposing something in addition to this. So there's the charge to take a look at. The charge also eliminates the position of the director of the chamber. It allows a person in the Yarmouth business community, which could be the director of the chamber, to be a member. So it doesn't call it out specifically as a director of the chamber. So those are the predominant changes in your charge. The goals and objectives and the website are sort of one synonymous project in the sense that, you know, Kyle and myself have been doing research on various websites, and a lot of the websites are welcome to our community. We're great, locate here. Now, based on the types of communities, you can, people provide a different perspective. And I've given some of those in here in terms of Marlborough, Worcester, Barnstable. Marlborough, Worcester are more sophisticated as it relates to economic development. And Marlborough tends to, on 495, look for big corporations and attract other corporations because they have big corporations. Worcester tends to, you know better than I do, Steve, is that they tend to merge leverage or sort of capital projects with sort of area development in terms of districts or intersections.
Yeah.
And they also focus on ripple impacts. So the ballpark, the theater district, you may make money off the ballpark, but you'll make more money off the visitors from the ballpark, and the same thing with the theater district. So each of those, then, you know, Marlborough becomes, look who else we have here. Worcester becomes, we can get it done. Here's our plan, join us. Barnstable's a little different. They have sort of a dichotomy. They have a web page that's their economic development office, and then they have their business Barnstable page. And they are more of the, you know, here's who we are, come to Barnstable. Our approach maybe should be that you have a major sewer project and there is a new paradigm for 28, and get in on this investment before the investment is not there anymore. So I think, you know, we wanted to show you all these other ones, but none of these developments, the closest thing would be Worcester, where if you dig down in the web page, you would hit a specific study and a capital plan related to it. So they merge capital with economic development. And it's not Amesbury. We were basically saying, here's this big sports complex development. Here's the intersection we're going to build. Come be part of this. But ours was all about the tools you could get in the projects we've done with those tools, like TIFs, DIFs, PACE, all that. So we were looking at it more of a very surgical, you know, we've got sites, we've got the tools, and we've got momentum. So each of these communities tend to obviously design their web pages for economic development to the community. Some of them adopt that sort of, you know, come locate here, kind of, we're a wonderful community, irregardless of any strategy. So what I'm saying is, from a CDC perspective, Kyle has worked on an economic page for RAC, which is, here's why we need this sewer for economic development. Yours is more about, you should locate here because we have the sewer and Route 28 and all these other things moving forward. It's not the same thing. On the one hand, we're trying to convince the public economic development will happen because the sewer. On the other hand, we need to go get the people that create the economic development. That's your page.
Okay.
So this is really a background on, we could do the, you know, sort of pretty picture economic development approach, but really we should do, here's all the great things that are happening with the sewer project. Here's all the potential development. Here is, you know, the growth that's going to happen. Be part of this before the prices go up. And that's really where we want to be. And then so the CDC would propose this, and then as we go through the process in terms of the DIF and other programs, it would feed into that message. Now at Amesbury, we were very strategic and very sort of tool-based and site-based. Our next model was going to be, after about 5 years, we were going to shut off the tools because everybody who we wanted in is going to be in. We got 2 hotels, the sports facility, and a few other things. And then we were going to market based on those things located here. Why can't you? So we were going to shut off the TIFs and everything else and reduce our impact. And that way, after about a 10-year period, after that first wave came in and we got them, then the Maples Crossing itself is 500,000 square feet, 500,000 people a year. 99 even moved in before they started construction. So the premise is, this is the first phase. You're almost acting as real estate agents and saying, come here before the property gets too expensive, because when the sewer line starts getting dug, you're too late.
So the work that you've done is tremendous. The analysis is tremendous. But my issues are, I have a number of issues. One, what information do we have to base this idea? If you build wastewater, businesses will come. Is there been a study? And 2, these are all based upon, these are cities. And my disconnect that these are cities in the north and in middle of Massachusetts, which are not the same as towns on the Cape for a couple of reasons, which I will
And that's the
mention,
problem for the towns in
and
the Cape.
southeastern Massachusetts. So generally, for example, and I'm not just, I just want to articulate this
Yeah.
because I know you'll get it. In a city, and you use a TIF, and it's a manufacturer, right? So in Massachusetts, a business either gets a 3% investment tax credit, or it says, I'm going to be fabulous. So if I promise X amount of jobs, you will get an addition, an amount per person for a full-time job higher than what that 3% would be. In a city, the Economic Assistance Coordinating Council doubles the credit for a town. You may not all know that, but it's significantly higher for a city than a town. So I guess, so my feeling right now, based upon experience, is that yes, all of these are toolbox, but they do have to be measured against, we're a town on the Cape.
I've done
versus
TIFs in
a
towns and
city.
cities, right? I've done them in both, and 2
Okay.
in North Andover and 5 in Amesbury.
Okay.
I understand that difference. This is not about the specific tool. It's about the branding
Right.
of our economy. And if we brand the economy based on, wouldn't it be nice, you know, jazz hands to locate in Yarmouth, we're not going to get anything done in
Well,
time.
but
We want
more
to,
to my point,
now the point is the
wastewater
branding.
The wastewater is new.
40
It
years
won't
old,
be here for a long time,
3 to
but
5 years.
in the meantime, because I think we're gonna work on it. We have certain assets that we should not forego in all of this. So I don't believe we should just say, we're gonna have wastewater, you're gonna come, because the reality is, I think a business would have done the demographics, done the analysis, and said, I will come here if I have enough potential sales. And I think we also have to bifurcate it to the types of businesses that we want. Retail doesn't need as much wastewater as a healthcare or a restaurant.
You're
So
talking about
I'm-
this, right,
I'm
you're right.
on, you guys are either fast forward and I've missed a lot of meetings or a report. Or what I'm saying to you is that I'm not understanding why there's this push. If you market the wastewater and you think businesses will come.
No,
I
it's
just
not
don't
about
believe that.
business. It's not about necessarily about businesses coming. I meet with some of the key property owners on the corridor probably once a month to talk about DIF and things like that. And I think I have about $100 million worth of new growth, but they want to see the wastewater proceed. They want to see what the charges are, what the betterment fees are, and everything else. So parallel to this sort of approach is people who already own property who aren't doing anything with property because they have a wastewater problem. So there's a development out there that has a hotel and a restaurant. He has to choose between which one he's going to grow. And, you know.
So do we know
he-
who, do we have that list?
No, you don't have that discussion here. I mean,
Okay.
they
we don't
bring
have
that-
to have
no,
discussion here,
they-
but like, but
they bring
similar
that-
to what we asked of the developer for the J Mart is like, so you give a little, get a little. And the only reason I say that is I
But
went
you're
on.
talking about the implementation of program. I'm talking about the branding, and we don't have a brand. Well, our brand is the charge.
The brand
that's-
is within Cape Cod within reach, is the
No.
last I heard.
Well, it's not within fiscal reach. You can't develop anything in the corridor. If you look at the growth of this community in terms of commercial value for the past 20 years, it's flatline. Over that same time, when I've worked, I've had blips in some of the towns I've worked. We went up by $120 million in Amesbury because we got the right interest rates, we got the right tools, we got the right developers. You're flatline. There's a reason for that. Despite the fact that the economy has ticked up elsewhere and other places like Worcester, Amesbury, or even some towns have grown, you haven't, because you have an infrastructure problem. So no sewer, no growth. It's pretty simple.
We also, it seems to me, I'm on this committee because I think we have pieces of a plan, which hopefully will develop into a larger plan. And then I also wanted to bring to the table and refresh everybody's memory that the Cape Cod Commission did a lot of this work for us and did the analysis based upon each town. So I really hate that.
Yeah, but see, this is, we're in an implementation mode. And so that's a vision document. Vision without implementation is hallucination. I mean, it's a vision document. That's all it is. It's in fact, as a SEDS document, it is very vague. I've written those things in other regional planning agencies or with them. In the back, they usually have specific projects. Read the section on wastewater. They prefer septic in their infrastructure section.
Okay.
So here's what I presented to the committee originally for what we wanted to do for a study. That was basically to, all right, then here is the specific study. So take the SEDS document and find the answers for that to be able to finish this.
Okay, this isn't it.
No,
either
anyway,
or.
we need to finish this for next town meeting. So
Yes, I know that.
I think we're listening here. I think you're both coming to the same point. You're getting there differently. So I think.
I would really like Mike to know, do all of you agree that if we market this place as wastewater, you think business.
It's not marketing as
But
wastewater.
we
It's
need to
where,
market something though.
it's
That's not how-
marketing it as a real estate opportunity
Right.
that's based on the provision of new infrastructure.
I think.
With two pieces. Okay, let me, and then I'll shut up. Actually, I will never shut up.
I was gonna say that.
But the first piece is you saying that you believe that you have credible anecdotal information from the businesses.
We have a
that you
report, the UMass
trust.
Donahue Institute report on wastewater infrastructure and the economic opportunity that has said there's going to be over $100 million in
And where
in,
is
this?
You have it right. in
We've
front
had
of
it
It's-
for, it's been since
you have it. It's the
2018.
second doc, no, it's the second document.
No,
you
I
have.
think Bill's.
Okay,
fine.
Anecdotal evidence that he.
But
can-
the
he
other.
can-
We have
information
plenty
that
of
you've been
anecdotal
talking to
evidence.
people, You think, so the growth will come not from necessarily new businesses,
No.
but from redevelopment of.
No,
from
you have
existing
the
Oh,
Chinese restaurant, the takeout restaurant, there's a vacant site.
Yeah.
To
There's
redevelop
some
it
new
now, you'd
growth.
have to put in your own wastewater treatment facility, so nobody's gonna do that. If
There's
you
an-
have a sewer hookup, then it makes it a lot more financially feasible,
Well,
so you're gonna have a lot
They're
more
not gonna
developers.
do it because there's not enough business to keep it going year round.
Why
However,
would you
if
spend
there
money on
were,
a sewage plant when we know the pipe's eventually coming? I mean, that's the bottom line. That's really what it comes down to. There's a site next to Hampton Inn that hasn't been developed for the exact reason we're
Right.
discussing here today. David Darling, who I've personally spoken to, he said he's not gonna build anything there until they run a
When
pipe.
we have developers call us, they say, so what's the sewer situation? And we say, we don't have sewer.
But
And
I
it's
think we're
clicked.
missing the
It's-
whole
That's
boat
the end of the
Because the
conversation.
boat isn't solely about about
Sewer.
a sewer. It's about a brand here that right now we don't have one.
And we have a brand that is, we are an investment opportunity that is, you know, there are vacant sites, there are unutilized sites, there are
And they
properties
haven't been invested in.
that
because-
haven't been invested in because of sewer. You have EOS, which is picked up for, you know,
But Jack,
yeah, Red Jacket. And Red Jacket has a $75 million proposal that apparently has gone through the commission.
Mhm.
So $75 million. What we want to do is we want to basically say, okay, that's going to leverage potentially MassWorks, which will do Shore Drive. Shore Drive is about 10 million. So MassWorks picks up half of that based on a $75 million investment. So the goal is to basically put people in a position where you're saying that, you know, there's an investment opportunity here that's unique to the Cape. And it is, we're putting in infrastructure. A lot of other people aren't, of this magnitude, that is, on the corridor. So, you know, whether we compare this to off Cape or on Cape, we're putting in infrastructure and it's just not happening anywhere else at $170 million on Route 28, with DOT doing almost half the corridor with the streetscape. So those types of investments are what attract businesses. So when we work with Maples Crossing on TIFs and all that, and MassWorks, they were interested because we solved an interchange problem for them. They said, make that go away and we'll come. It was a $6 million problem, but it was a TIF and MassWorks money that did it. Our marketing plan was, we make your problems go away. That was our brand. The mayor was very aggressive about that. Our brand should be, here's an investment opportunity, get in on the ground floor. And here are the sites. Here is, you know, the traffic that's associated with this, all the demographics and everything else are background material. If we went out there and did what a lot of other people do in these websites and basically said, we're a great community, we've got all of these attributes. I mean, you can do that, but the one attribute you don't have is sewer. So you're bypassing the real stumbling block in economic development, the lack of wastewater.
well, every business that I work with wanted to know, what incentives are you gonna give? What are the, in terms of tax and any other benefits? And what are the demographics of your town? And what are you going to do to support?
Did they ever
the
ask about
demographic?
wastewater?
No, because in the town, in only one town, okay, there's only one that I've experienced. They didn't have wastewater, but the town of Easton did a public-private partnership, which we were trying to do, which I tried to intervene over at Skull Island and also in Swan Pond to try to get it. And public-private, where the private entity would build it and then they would give the additional wastewater capacity available to the town on an as-needed basis. That didn't go ahead because at the end of the day, there's just not enough economic reasons for an investor to make it happen.
No, and and we have a lot more candidates for wastewater than the Easton project. We've got the entire corridor. I mean,
And then some.
Well, you missed my point. My point was is that, but it happened. It happened because in the absence of wastewater, private investment
when you can do a
made
septic
made
system,
it happen. Right, well, and actually even that happens at Cape Cod Potato Chip has their own wastewater. facility.
there's a proposal by
I think-
somebody that they're going to
That's
take
what
over a
right now,
building.
it's own Wastewater plant.
There's-
Because we needed it.
There's a proposal by somebody that they're gonna take over a building, and he told me that his septic costs will exceed his building tenant fit up.
Mhm.
And he said, so I'm not doing it. So find that example, and so that if you put sewer in, then that person says, I don't have a $250,000
Can I weigh in
gun.
just
Yeah.
before we get too more far?
Yeah.
We're being driven for wastewater by a specific entity. EPA is saying to us, do something on this. Yes, no?
Indirectly, but
Yeah.
this is one of the advantage of this project. This is one of the rare projects where the economy and the environment are on the same page.
But yes,
That's where it's
David,
going.
we are
And
doing
that's
that.
that's the beauty of this
That's what I'm going.
project.
So you with that environmental issue that we're all trying to confront, have been confronting for years here. I'm the new guy on the block, so you guys know better than I, but this is a perfect opportunity for the two to come together and say, this is what we're gonna do.
Right.
Because of this, we can do this. And the tools will fall, and the demographics will fall. Everything else, and I don't think anyone's saying around the table, Maria, that we're gonna wait until wastewater is done before this development happens.
No, we
If anything else
can't,
happens
yeah.
along the way, he's gonna be the first to jump
Oh, Gosh,
on.
I'm
So-
not saying that at all. What I'm trying to understand is what it was the foundation for which we think that if you build it, it will come. And then what I heard, which is fabulous. Isn't this why we're around the table?
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
I mean,
You like to.
Bill's experience is extraordinary. And now I just want to start to focus it a little bit on. And what I heard is that this is now there are two parts to this, right? One, to keep what we have and fortify what we have. And then another piece that says there might be available properties and we might attract people. Okay, my question was answered.
Okay. Fantastic.
It's
Yeah, I mean,
two different
it's more of a,
strategies.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
Completely,
I thought.
one
maybe-
goal, two different
I thought
strategies.
maybe felt like we were all focused on this and that was it, and nothing else.
No,
something else did.
so
I'm sorry, I was
I give you
asking
an
questions.
example
I
of it.
wasn't picking a fight.
Right. Well, I think that the branding is a function of what you want to accomplish, obviously. So when we were branding Amesbury, it wasn't as public, but we were at we had two interchange coming together. So we basically said, you can go north, south, east, west, you're at the state line. There were a lot of things, and we were getting hammered with permitting in both commercial and residential. So we were saying, look at all these people who are making this decision to move here. So you take the attributes of each community and then you brand it. And the attributes of this community, it seems like wastewater is moving forward. And so from that perspective, for the people that I talk to, it completely changes their investment strategy. And what I need to do with them is get them to move ahead of us and make some commitments.
That's where the trust comes in. Well, you mentioned Worcester, the driver in Worcester was the Union Station.
Right.
Union Station was it, and then the commuter rail line, so everything developed for that. And then Streetscape was another tool that we
Right.
used to, if you invest in your ability, we'll come out and do the Streetscape.
And in Worcester is a great knack at solving traffic problems for developers, rotaries, circles, and downtowns and things like that. I mean,
I heard the RTA was a big part of that.
There
right?
was, yeah. I heard
There's
some
also
stories to tell
a
you. They
vacant
didn't have great-
storefront program with the state, which we're not taking advantage of.
Yes, yeah.
which we could.
yeah, so within the branding, there is the tools, there is TIF, PACE, vacant storefront program, CDBG, if it has benefits associated with low mod jobs, things like that.
And monies to the Cape Cod Commission.
Monies to the Cape Cod Commission?
Through. They have a regional economic development plan where they can get the funding, we can get funding through them through the EDC. I don't know how that is coordinated, quite honestly. I'm assuming you all know that, how to do that, because we all
Yeah, they kind of, they have taken over the relationship with the EDA. And so it's a little bit more difficult in the sense that if you're in other parts of the state, you can work with the EDA more directly. So you have to go through the commission to sort of prove the point. And that's,
Yeah, if we're being honest, I think it adds inefficiency to the process and I found it to be.
yeah, and then so we're
helpful.
trying to educate two
Well,
sets
it's not the
of-
commission's problem. Now we have to play a game of telephone to talk to the EDA. Why can't we just talk to the EDA directly? Like EDA gives questions to the Cape Cod Commission, but then gives it to us. And that's like it's
Yeah,
classic
it's the
government.
man behind the curtain kind of thing.
Right.
So the point being is, the branding is, we can go by way of, we're also happy here and we got a great economy, so locate here, or we can go with, that sort of, message that you want to give. If you don't get in on Route 28 and this sort of plan and this program, you're going to miss out on the investment. At the same time, what we're doing is we're working, we'll work with the existing property owners to sit down and say, okay, how does sewer make this work better for you? And can you get, some commitments moving forward? So we can say this wastewater project begets this development. And if we can say that, then we can get grants. And we can't say that now. Most MassWorks grants, all of them that I've done, has a project that you can name. And same with EDA. It has job creations, it has a business, it has all that. We don't have that yet. So what we want to do is market ourselves as something where we were creating a corridor of opportunities. And then from there, we're working with property owners to say, okay, let's move your opportunity forward.
Yeah.
Then within that, from the planning board perspective, is getting out in front with zoning to make sure that we're creating something that both meets the needs of the community, but also is, commensurate with what some of the property owners are looking for.
Yeah.
We've talked about targeting uses that are year-round, that are higher wages and things like that, medical. I mean, that's some of the things we want to talk about, but it all goes back to, they're not coming here without sewer. Medical can go pretty much anywhere.
So Bill, this was kind of meant to be like an introductory discussion.
Yeah,
Right? You're not
so
looking
we're-
for anything specific.
No,
Would you like to think about,
Yeah, why don't I do
come
that?
back
Thank
to
you
the
for that.
committee with some,
thank you for the transition.
with some goals, for some draft goals and objectives in the future? What's our plan?
Yeah, well, we're,
Just a couple
Yeah.
things. One,
Sure, Steve.
on this charge. I don't know how you guys all feel. I want your opinion, but I'm all in on this. I think it's great. I think it expands our work here at this committee level. What I am a little hung up on though is this charge seems to be all related to the tourism revenue preservation fund.
and that's pretty much what I think it was set up for. The
Yeah,
ordinance
so-
was set up to have you allocate
That's right.
funding.
I understand, but do we need to have our committees broadened a little bit to include this and beyond it?
I don't think it,
Some stuff
I don't think it prevents you from doing the work that we're talking about. I think that if you want to keep the charge associated with the funding source and then do the other work.
Yeah.
In addition to that.
I agree.
I don't know if do you want to talk about the charge at a future meeting? Because I had some questions on the charge too.
What? Yeah, I mean, one of the things that jumps out in addition, thank you for pointing that out, that straightens it out a lot for me, but the other one is with the Chamber of Commerce, right? I don't know how you all feel about that, but
There's an inherent issue associated with an entity that files an RFP being
Right.
on the committee.
Yeah.
So that's just
even if that entity-
cleanup.
Okay, even if that entity recuses.
But so if you were sitting in a meeting and you were reviewing other proposals and that group was reviewing those proposals, inherently that conflict still exists. So they don't have to be reviewing their own proposal to have a conflict. So they could be reviewing other ones and, doing this, I'm not saying that happens. And so it's, typically when you have a conflict of interest, let's say my first job in Orange was great. I had a lawyer that represented property owners. I had a property owner and I had a guy who sold lumber to developers. And they had to leave the room. So as developments came
Right.
forward, subdivisions that they're associated with. So
Right.
you really don't want, because that entity can frame policy that can lead to an outcome that's in their favor. So you don't want them at the table as it relates to your funding.
Yep.
But as it relates to economic development, and everything else, I think you don't have an issue there. But if you were to discuss how you allocate the funding and everything else, probably don't want somebody who gets the funding to be part of that discussion.
With that discussion, but
Yeah.
they'll still be okay. All right.
Yeah, all it does is remove the reference to the director.
Right.
So the director can still be there
Yep.
because they're part of the economy.
Yep, yep.
Economic
All
development
right, that's good.
representation.
My
So-
quick,
So I'm sorry, Kyle. So we'll talk about subsequently the chart, the chart.
I think it would probably be good to have it on
Because
like a
I think
future
we
meeting,
need
yeah.
to- We need
Yeah.
to, and I'm gonna do this with other committees as well. I think it's important that committees link their goals and objectives to the vision that has been developed with all the input from people in the business community, specifically in town. It's been presented and accepted by the board. Let's not stray from all that. It is words. There's no projects in here.
Right.
Per se, other than wastewater is mentioned
Yeah, I'm
prominently.
sorry about the vision.
That's okay. No, didn't take it the wrong way at all. That's exactly what visions are supposed to be. But there are specifics here that link to things that I think might fit nicely into the charge here. And adopting language that exists, that's been approved, that's been looked at, that people maybe are still familiar with. I think wherever we can continue to retain that would be helpful.
Yeah, my only concern, I was sort of
Yes,
just
sir, go
jump
ahead.
in. I don't disagree with you, Joanne, but the bottom line though is goals and objectives should be changing on an annual basis. This charge needs to be a document that hopefully can move forward with. And, you know, to link them two together, I think it'd be a tough task. That's just my quick comment.
But a vision
Mhm.
isn't a day-to-day thing.
Yeah,
It's more of a long-term, I mean, if you look at it, it's all the stuff we just talked about. It's, economic growth, promote economic growth and employment diversification to generate quality year-round jobs.
Yep.
Promote, support existing
And that's
businesses and attract
Your
new
point,
businesses.
the year-on jobs
Those are-
and the other.
Those aren't gonna change.
nope,
year
not
to
at
year.
all.
So I just think it would be nice if committee charges could reflect some linkage to it.
Right, and I agree with you. I think that charge was originally set up based on the ordinance and based on the allocation of
That's
funding.
exactly what I'm saying.
And they
Just
didn't, and they didn't go beyond it to talk about it as a broad-based economic development. So I think that, including that to sort of create more specificity in these would be advantageous. But this is what it is if we want it to be more than the allocation of funding, and it is the charge for all economic activity, then it's a lot broader than that document. So, but the fact is that create jobs, expansion to encourage retention and things like that. There are better ways of putting some of this stuff that are directly related to what you
Yeah,
have.
this
in
should-
the
I
vision.
think the focus on economic development is really important.
Right,
The broader thing, the broader context here of the economy includes a whole lot more than
Right.
just
right.
economic development.
In the select board has goals and objectives for economic development. We should have those before us as well, right?
Yeah, my point is, if we do this, we want to look at what the state has for goals, so that if it's a matter of concurring with some of their goals, which Kyle went through the state funding websites and grabbed some of their goals, then, make sure we use some of their language to accomplish the same things we're accomplishing in the vision and the charge. And only because when you write a grant, you're restating what your goals are. If
Good one.
they merge with what the state has, then you're more likely to get the funding.
Little bit, yeah.
And my point about the commission, I sat on all these meetings for a number of years, okay, so. If in their plan, they're gonna establish a fund, let's say, for the Blue Technology Commercialization Center. That's an initiative, and there's gonna be a funding scheme that they are working on. Then why wouldn't we want to tap into that? So I think that's another layer of coordination that, I'm not saying adopt the whole bloody thing, but within our Yarmouth strategies, okay, the goals are fine. I agree with Joanne completely. As a strategy, I think we should tap into again, what the commission has done for possible collaboration and access to funding sources.
You know, there are some good things in there, but they are a restatement of what's available and not a statement of what needs to move forward. So in an area where you have a huge housing problem, a huge nitrate problem, a problem with housing for temporary employees, and a host of other economic issues, if the county is that talented, you shouldn't have all those problems. So my point is, we need to focus on Yarmouth solving Yarmouth. And if we can see something out of there, then yes, we make an attachment. But they
Good.
haven't
We
proven
agree.
they're the
Good.
ones who approved the cell tower on 28. So,
No, please don't do that.
but I mean, so my point is, I'm not saying the county is a bad thing. I'm just saying we're the primary responsible parties to get this done, and the county is a resource that we go to, not as a leadership role. So, and
Agreed. And agreed. Resource. 'Cause they've
Right.
done a lot of heavy lifting and we pay them a lot of money to do a lot of heavy lifting. So
right, and
sorry you
then
can't get through. Perhaps we should invite Paul to come and chat with us.
was, well,
The head, no, actually
It's
Paul
It's
is
not,
at the Cape Cod
it's not that
Chamber
we
now.
can't get through.
The,
Christie Senator.
Christie, sorry, I'm getting my,
yeah, we've
Decades mixed
been
up.
meeting with them over the ARPA funding. They have $41 million that they haven't allocated anything on, because they're arguing between the commission and the assembly.
Mhm.
So I'd love to have
Oh,
5
sure.
of that. I could solve a lot of
So is
problems.
there anything that we can do to help out with that? To help
Well,
you out?
that's perfect leverage money. ARPA money
I
could
know.
leverage into wastewater,
I know.
which would give us grant matches.
But is there a way that we can raise a stink there?
I think it's a debate between the assembly and the commission themselves as to
Once they,
who allocates the
once they
funding.
resolve their issues of who allocates.
Yeah, but I
the
mean,
money.
this money has been around for more than a year now.
Yeah,
And so it doesn't, I mean, I don't see it as sitting in an interest bearing account or
Right.
some sort of IRA gaining value, and that's
Right.
why we're sitting on it.
have we knocked on their doors saying, hey?
We
we're
had
about
some
to-"
meetings because one of the things that we tried to, Bob and myself, and actually Bob Lawton, I think was in the meeting, we tried to impress upon them that town meetings are coming up. It would be great if we could take some of that money out and go into town meeting with the match, so that the county gets the credit and we're not going in and asking for any money. We're actually going in and saying, and the match is provided by these funds. And they should cycle the money out based on a town meeting cycle for all these, and here's a warrant article, we're moving forward. And by the way, we need 25% of this, so, and that was about 2 months ago, I think. So, I mean, obviously, we went through town meeting without
Yeah.
their match.
Right, right.
So, I mean, I'd like to see them to release the money, but they're looking at formulas and other things to try to move it forward. I mean, my point is I'm used to regional planning agencies, and most of the ones I've worked with are very strategic.
Right, right.
Do you need GIS? Do you need a fiscal analysis? Do you need this? So they don't take a leadership role. They say, where are the gaps in the services that you have?
Yeah.
These people seem to take a leadership role in setting policy. And I'm not quite sure if we need that.
we're probably on the same page with that one. But notwithstanding that, I mean, the chairman's point is really well taken. If there's anything, if you would like a letter or whatever in support of, Yarmouth, on behalf of Yarmouth residents, would like to tap into this money, and we, just encourage you to move it forward quickly. And here are our top 3 priorities. If you want a letter of support from us to advance this, please.
No,
ask.
I mean, right now, the point is we want to create a branding exercise around CEDC that is related to sort of our next iteration of economic development. The next iteration of economic development is based on an infrastructure corridor. So, and the paradigm for those things are, look at us, notice us, here's our streamlining, here's all this. That's probably not the one we want to use. We want to use the one that says, to somebody that's a company, I want to make an investment. Where should I do that? Oh, look, I've
Oh,
got
I'm
this.
sorry. I just meant if you want a letter of support
Oh.
to get unlock the ARPA money.
Oh, no,
Didn't-
that's a different, I think that's
No,
at
no,
the
that's
board,
what-
board of selectmen level. Yeah, I mean,
Exactly. If they need support, well, just.
yeah, no, I appreciate that.
I mean, I'm putting more.
I still
No,
have
no,
the,
I know it's at a higher level than us, but I always felt when I was with the city of Worcester, squeaky wheel gets the oil. So
Oh, yeah.
Banging, knocking the doors and so they're tired of seeing you down there banging, knocking on the door.
and then that's to Maria's point about the different places. Places where you have cities in the state of Massachusetts tend to get more money
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah.
the mayor is banging the podium and on the front page, beating up the state house, and there's no cities down here. So it's all administrators
Well,
and
this
so,
Barnstable,
well,
technically.
yeah, I mean, but the point is I know when I was up in the North Shore, they got 3 mayors and they were all on the front page saying, why aren't the state doing this? Why? And other towns get the spillover by virtue of getting noticed, the governor's coming there and things like that. So it's important that once we build this type of website, that we're also going to the state and saying, look at the opportunity we have, fund us. And that's really what this is about. When they look at grants, I've had agencies, email me and say, we're reviewing a grant. We like the stuff on your website. They'll look at stuff off the grant application, at your web pages and everything else.
You know what? I'm just gonna call you and we'll chat later because I think Kyle wanted to move this
Yeah.
meeting forward.
I just,
So we can monopolize.
to get
the
it back, we're kind of off the
conversation.
rails, to be honest, to
sorry.
get us back on the rails. So it might make sense to have a future meeting
Mhm.
where we talk about the goals and objectives and the revised charge at the same meeting. If that makes sense to you guys. I don't know what meeting date you want to pick that because we did either the 14th or the 28th. That would probably overload it. You guys wanted to try to not meet in July. Totally up to you guys. It doesn't matter.
So the board is going to take the charge up on the 7th. And I don't know if they want a direction from
On
you
what,
guys.
July
before
7th or-
June.
So they did not really give us much
Well, at
notice.
least
on
that's what
that,
I
did
heard
they?
from Mark and today. So why don't we, you guys said your meeting when it is, and we'll basically tell them you're going to follow the, see what the board says on the charge. But 2 things regarding the charge, and I can write the memo. One is we should incorporate the vision information from the planning department and planning board.
Yep.
And I'm not quite sure if people want to email me a few ideas, then I can just make the memo from myself and say, here's the general discussion. Future meeting will be held after the board hears it to solidify it. The other thing is, sorry, Kyle, I'm off the reservation again. The memo that I gave you, take a look at the vision from the planning board and then the charge and then this and see if we can sort of find commonality between all of them. So I'm getting, the goals and objectives from agencies. We're getting the voice of the people from the vision. And then the charge is the original sort of foundation document. So is there a way to get that to everybody? We just email the vision to everybody for the economic one,
Yeah, we can do that.
right?
I mean, I think if you guys are gonna be talking about revising the charge, I think it'd be good to have the committee talk about it and provide some feedback, and not just by the seat of our pants before the
Yeah, I
7th.
I agree.
All right,
I
So
get the impression that this is being jammed through.
a little bit, I'm
Yeah.
getting that impression too. I mean, that wasn't
That's
very
what you
much
want to do,
notice.
that's fine.
no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this is what's in front of you. They're going to talk about it on the 7th. How that relates to your schedule is up to you. I can tell them initially that they want to make sure that the work of the planning board and the vision is incorporated in here. And they're going to be talking about it at a future meeting.
Well, I have a
Because we
couple
know
other
that.
questions that I wanted to bring up with the group, but I don't want to, think we should do it at a meeting instead of,
Yeah.
maybe my biggest question is annual work plan. What does that exactly mean? Because
It's a whole office devoted to work plan, training and all that. I don't even.
Yeah, the annual work plan is already in here. It's in the old one.
Mhm.
It hasn't changed.
So is that just going to be but what exactly are you expecting from that? Is that just going to be the allocation memo that we did at this past town meeting where we had the buckets? Or do we want actual calling out projects? Because that's going to decrease the flexibility of our spending of the fund. Which
Yeah,
we've talked
and
about
I
in the
think
past.
that one of the things as a group you want to talk about is how much of you are an economic development entity and how much of you are a funding resource. that you're getting really tied up with the whole allocating money, and there are bigger picture issues. So how do you divide those two? Because you're right, Kyle. I mean, the work plan, if it's specifically related to the allocation of funding, that might not be that hard. It's like we put out RFPs, we did this, and we issued this amount of money.
Mhm.
But if it's, you know, a broader economic development exercise, then what is it?
And my query is, I thought that we were purely an advisory role with other entities too, other than notwithstanding the coming up with the plan for the tourism fund for all of you, for staff to come up with. I mean, that,
No, you're right, in the sense that we brought a tool in front of you for diff. It has components related to a work plan, and you're providing us advice on it.
right, and so.
We don't
okay,
expect
so
you
you're
to
right, Kyle.
come-
So
yeah.
anyway, just that
Yeah.
shall work to improve. I think maybe it would be helpful for me to understand from the former chair and chair, what you
Sure.
actually mean by that.
All right, well, what I'm gonna do is, why don't we pick a meeting that you want to discuss it, and we'll just say it's gonna be discussed at that meeting.
Yeah, I'm looking at, next week, a week from today, 31st. That will give you time before the June 7th.
Let's talk about the
Sure.
driver here.
Go ahead.
Um, Annually, we present to the Board of Selectmen.
Right,
We present our plan, we present our performance.
Right.
That typically for all committees happens in September and October.
yeah, I remember.
I'm not, maybe you can share with us why Mr. Forrest is accelerating this to be a June 7th discussion for the board. We're not ready.
No, I know, and
And
I'm
we're-
okay with that. I'm just saying that, I mean, I think part of it is, you know, the separation of the chamber issue, and then there are things that legal counsel say consistent with the act. The difficulty on this is a charge based on an ordinance, and it's not necessarily goals and objectives of your group. It is based on the foundation of meeting the dictates of the ordinance,
Yeah.
so.
But
So,
you have raised an interesting point about what changed at town meeting. And that our appropriation now is segmented,
right,
which it has never been segmented before. And so a plan, to me, would need to better inform what we think that, or.
your
and
targets are,
Jointly with the town, obviously the
Right.
town, what within those segments are the most important things we're going to focus on for the coming year.
right,
Because now we have a new, if you will, charge as a result of town meeting to look at the funding we receive in a different way. So I
it's
think we
similar
need
to the
some time.
CPA, I think, in
Yeah,
terms of.
yeah.
All they're
It's-
saying
yeah.
is you have buckets, put it in the buckets now instead of
I
being.
understand,
So
but it's different than what we've done before.
Mr. Chair, I think one of the things that I'd recommend is exactly what Bill's saying is, I don't think we need to meet next week and try and cram this thing down in a week.
No.
I strongly recommend that we let, you know, if we need to be there in the 7th, we'll be there in the 7th. When we go with it, that this is a working document and it's not done yet. And it won't be done for June 7th, but it will be done at some point. You figure out the timeline.
In pieces, I mean, like to Kyle's point, incorporating the document that's related to the economic vision from the planning department and board makes sense. So we don't want to say, well, we're going to do that and not actually express what that means. We should do it. So that, my only point is, I can tell them the things that you're thinking about, but then the document comes later. And by virtue of telling them that you're thinking about those things, it becomes more detailed than just saying, yeah, we like, you know,
Right.
kind of thing. So, you know, I think some people might be looking at us and saying, we got to make these changes for these administrative reasons. You want to make changes that are deeper, that are related to connections to other documents. And that makes sense. So, you know, because a lot of it is pretty much the same, the membership and a few other things just change slightly. So, you know, moving forward, you know, pick a date that gives you the time that you want to, and then Kyle and I can work with Kathy, if you don't mind, to see which of the vision ones are aligned with this.
That would be great.
And then I think, and then we would then take that and look and say, how do you change the language slightly to meet those needs, but meet the state needs?
Oh, yeah.
And then we can create that document with Kathy, start with the vision, then move on to the state ones, and then come back to you and say, here's what the charge would be. Now, the other thing you could do is do a very simple charge and say, and our goals and objectives are another document. You know, that you're allowed to change on your own. So it doesn't affect how you allocate money, but to the point of allocating money, that maybe should be in here, you know? This funding allocation plan, there it is right there. But so I will give the message that we're working on it, and here are some of the components, and what are we talking about for a date that sounds good for you guys? The 14th of June, was it?
What are you looking at,
Meeting.
folks? Which calendar's up?
We have one the 14th and one the 28th, but
You want to draft by the 14th and
Okay.
Yeah.
Would that work for you, Kath?
Yeah, that's fine. by me.
Okay.
so we'll
I always
get
do
our-
that with Kath.
our
Would that
input.
would that work for you,
Bill?
Kath?
Is that-
Yeah.
is that what we're
So do we
doing?
want to talk about the goals and objectives too, or we're just focusing on just the charge on the 14th?
I think why don't we do the charge on the 14th? I can go, but because frankly, if we're changing this, they might be a synonymous approach. That is, we never thought we are going to be that detailed in this, but we might as well be. And therefore, we might incorporate the stuff that's in this document in terms of your charge as it relates to some of your branding issues into this document. But it won't specifically, mention wastewater.
So are we sending our comments to you, Bill, or to Steve, who we can send them?
When I send them to Kyle, keep that sort of hierarchy, and then
Okay.
he and I can work on those issues. And then, so here's the
So we'll have
issue
more
is,
discussion on the 14th.
14th.
yeah,
So
so,
with everybody?
so you make sure you get a copy of the vision from the planning board. You have my memo, which articulates some of the state guidelines in terms of goals. And what we're trying to do is work with what we have for a charge and incorporate some of those other documents. And we need to keep it relatively simple, we should decide, are we going to have 10 points here, or not 50
Mhm.
things like that.
Yeah, this document's always being reviewed. I think that you just hit the nail on the head. You want something that it's done on a yearly basis. We're not gonna set goals.
Yeah, we want enough specificity to provide a direction, but not so much specificity that it becomes a milestone
Right.
or a project, that goes away. All
Excellent.
right, I got selectmen.
All right, thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck with
Thank you for, yes, thank you for keeping us on track.
Yeah.
Kyle.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Don't want you to miss the selectmen meeting. All the fun there.
Okay, so next up on the agenda is covered this workshop, right?
Yep.
So we got the review of the council meeting minutes.
Correct.
April 12th, 2022. We have a motion on the floor. Second. Second. All those in favor? We got two abstentions. Three ayes.
Did you abstain?
No.
Okay, so we all have one abstain, all right? Yeah, we're good.
Sorry. Right, committee members, staff updates.
Well, we have the update on the marketing RFP. We unfortunately noticed a technical error when we were doing the opening, so we had to reissue it, but it's not going to set us back too much, I don't think, probably a couple weeks. But we had a minimum criteria in it that shouldn't have been in there, so we had to take it out. We only had one proposal, it was from the chamber. So maybe we'll get more of the second time going out. But we'll keep you posted on that. I think the new due date's gonna be June 13th or something around then.
Has the review committee been established?
Yeah, it's Maria, Steve, myself, Karen, and Svetlana. who's in procurement. I believe that's what did you guys vote on that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or we volunteer.
Yeah, it's just, you know, how we have the minimum criteria and comparative criteria. There was three pieces of minimum criteria. I think the second of the three.
Yeah.
That has some wording that really prevented anyone from being in compliance with all of the three criteria of the minimum requirements. So if you didn't
It
meet all
was, it
three,
was unattended.
yeah, it was unintended. If you didn't meet all three,
It was an error.
you couldn't go to the next.
Yeah.
So, but it was, yeah, there's no single point.
Yeah. There's a contract template that we didn't properly notice and
Yeah.
edit was really what it boiled down to.
Yeah.
The other update I had is I've been doing some more direct visits to businesses today. I'm gonna do some more tomorrow. I visited 20 businesses today. I'll probably do 20, maybe 30 more tomorrow. So
Really?
just
Oh my
dropping
goodness.
in, saying hello, introducing myself, giving them my business
How
card.
the hell do you get on with 20 businesses?
What?
What are you like? Hi, goodbye.
Yeah, no. Well, that's why I go in, I say, hi, my name's Kyle. Here's my business card. If you need anything from the town, please feel free to contact me and
What's your feedback?
wishing you best of luck going into the season.
How many
Everybody's pretty
businesses
appreciative of
actually
that.
do we have business certificates?
I think it's like 900, a little over 900, I want to
That's
say.
all, home-based.
Yeah, there's a lot of,
Home-based businesses.
Yeah. exactly.
Compliments of doing that because that means a lot to the business.
Yeah.
Usually they don't hear from the town.
It's my,
Only the
that's
health
the problem.
inspector.
Yeah.
it's my favorite thing to do of all my job responsibilities, to be
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
because of that very reason. I think if I was a business owner, I'd appreciate it. Like when people first see me, some people are like, oh, I'm from the town. I see the look like, oh my God, what are they here for?
My train's-
I'm like, I'm just here to say hello, give me my card. And I think
That's
people
great.
do appreciate that
Has
they're not
anybody
there.
thrown you out?
No, not yet, not yet. Maybe at some point.
Come by
But-
Thurwood.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, but gonna do
Oh,
some more
that's
tomorrow.
great,
So,
that's
yeah.
great. I have one committee update. Planning board had a hearing last week. This is pretty major for the town. There's a cluster subdevelopment that we had a hearing that's been continued to next week. Route 6A, Hockanum Road. That
Fully aware of it.
position
The
point.
neighbor up there put a big sign up, didn't he?
Oh, I haven't been over there since last week.
So
but-
what's a cluster development?
It's a special kind of subdivision where we allow more dense development as long as there is 30% of the total acreage dedicated to conservation. So the Diocese of Fall River, our friend, the Diocese of Fall River on the
The
tower,
one with the tower?
and same, the bishop.
They must be desperate for money.
I wonder why.
That was good.
I hope you weren't a victim.
No, I wasn't a victim.
Oh,
I
boy.
I would have kicked
I
their ass.
apologize.
Oh, boy, I wonder why.
Anyway, this is, it's an undeveloped plot of land. It's got, it's topographically challenging.
Is this where the wildlife center is?
No. It's,
It's
this
on
That
the-
was
it's
owned
on
by
the
a
way
priest,
towards
wasn't
Hockenham Woods.
Hockanum
Okay.
is across the street, and it's, as you come around on Route 6A, it's on a pretty good
It's a
trail.
weird bend, yeah.
Outward reach.
It's downhill and to the like,
Outward reach is the street on the south side.
Right.
And I never get the pronunciation of the next street. Ken Comset,
Mhm.
I believe is
Very
the
good.
correct
Yep.
pronunciation, is, those are the two border streets where there's housing. And the Davenport Companies has a purchase and sale agreement that hasn't been finalized yet with the Diocese of Fall River to have 14 houses in this development. They've subdivided it properly. They met every condition for a cluster subdivision in terms of the layout. The one area of concern expressed at the hearing, two main ones were wastewater, because we are still only bound by Title V. And they've had, the way that they've laid it out, each unit, each home these homes are cookie cutter, 4-bedroom. The plans we've seen are 2 bedrooms downstairs with the living area, kitchen, blah, blah, blah. 2-bedroom spaces upstairs, not necessarily developed or finished, I should say. And 2 cul-de-sacs. The water lines, the runoff, all of those conditions have been met, but the 2 largest areas of concern were the Title V, which the zoning board, that Title V is not a zoning board issue.
Right.
And there's nothing we can do about it. Because there is nothing yet that's better. Although at Shubal Pond in Barnstable, I'm not going to get the nonprofits acronym correct, but there is a test of a neighborhood with a new upgraded Title V, innovative alternative Title V that this company Clean2 has developed. And essentially it inserts another box in between what would typically be the tank and the septic field with a nutrient field with wood chips. Very simple design, but it has not been approved by the state yet. And so we are encouraging the developer to look at that. Of course, because it hasn't been approved yet, we're not sure how far that will go, but we have asked the developer to look at that. The other single largest issue is they do need a variance from the planning board because they do not meet what are the intersection rules on Route 6A that are in our zoning bylaws. You can't have a roadway, two entrances onto Route 6 that are within 400 feet of each other. And they missed that by 100 and something feet. They're 235 feet from Ken Commesset. Ken Commesset. And we need to provide a variance to that. And there were a number of letters and very articulate neighbors who voiced serious concerns about safety coming around the corner, the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. So we've asked them to look again at that. So we'll see if the hearing is extended, if they request an extension of the hearing. But it's in that neighborhood, and it's
So
a
really, the
fairly
only thing that you
contentious.
guys can vote on is the
Traffic.
variance for the traffic. Everything
But
else
there-
is,
There's some thought that it's safer to grant the variance than to go the traditional route, right? Because something about, I think it was like Eileen Street might be more, I don't know.
Yeah, there is one off of Outward Reach, I believe is the name of the street. There is a at the end of their property development. And by the way, the back end of this, the southern end of this development is the main high tension wires that run the length of the Cape. So the conservation area, part of it is underneath them because the property is there. So they're clearly taking advantage of it. But Eileen Road comes in parallel to that, to those high tension wires. And I drove over there. It's a narrow street with a couple of houses on that side. And it's a fairly busy intersection. So anyway, you'll hear more about this, but we did have the start of a hearing that's been continued.
Good luck.
Yeah. It was-
It's, a lot of people showed up, I
A
saw.
lot of people showed
which is
up
good.
and were had their voices. I think I know the planning board is listening to what their concerns are, particularly with regard to the safety. So
Is it too much to pull up the plans for the driving site?
Thought you might ask that.
I just like 2 minutes on it. The only reason I want to do that is just. when you open up your, Keep going. Keep going. Yeah, that one, yeah. Okay. The only reason I don't want to point that, because how I've been on this since day one, but what I wanted to do, as much as we can drive the committee to, and the staff to, do what they can to accommodate to accommodate some of the things that we were after. So they did the study, remember we funded that to study on the layout. So this is how they're looking at laying out the site as far as this proposed platform where people can, the stage itself and the audience can sit and hear music from. So you're facing,
10-degree
Northeast,
off north
northeast,
or something, yeah.
but you can drive around the site, parking here, you can drive around the site. The restroom facility is gonna be here. So, and there's an office set up in here, so you can, if there's people that want to, bands and whatnot, they want to congregate first, they can do it there. So it's getting laid out pretty well. Just didn't want you guys to think that we forgot about it, but it's probably at around 30% design right now. Long ways to go to get to where they need to be before they actually started construction, but they're not looking probably till late 2023, early 2024.
For construction.
Yeah. So just let you know.
1985, I think. it
Yes,
was.
they're doing a great job.
Oh, yeah, no, I-
Kathy's doing a hell of a job. I don't know how she's doing it. She's doing, but planning board and everything else.
Conservation
Well,
Commission.
There's an update on the board of selectmen. They're gonna be.
Yep,
Board
Tonight,
of Selectmen, an update on this thing. So,
Is it definitely gonna happen?
yes, I think it's at a point right now, you can't pivot away from it. I think it's kind of driving itself at this point. There's
Good.
a lot of investment gone into the architectural and engineering design for it. They've
Well,
done
we
a
got
lot
the
of,
Seaport Economic Council grant for this, didn't we?
yes, and
Yes.
there's a.
Thank you, Maria, for introducing
You're
Jim
welcome.
to Karen. Plato. You're welcome.
But there's a lot of permitting required yet. And they've started some of that local compound, but yeah, it's coming along. It's coming along.
Good.
It looks like Portland Ave, but Portland Way, by the way, is where the utilities will be brought in.
Uh-huh.
So, okay, I have one other question really quickly. So, I mean, I was looking at that dock and I was thinking of it before. And remember my issue was is that whole area, the entranceway is really not navigable,
Yeah.
that's a low tide. Do we have, is there any like tie-ups to like, so if I wanted to come to this event, go to an event, but I wanted to bring my boat,
Yes. Yes, there's
but how many slip? do you know
not,
anything
there's not,
about
like, not
how
gonna be
many
like
feet,
200.
linear
probably.
feet?
Well, that thing going up to the water.
Yeah.
We're gonna get two
I don't think there's, I don't think there's
That's the
slips.
kayak.
Yeah, That's,
So
there's no
that's too
slips.
bad. That's too bad because like how we all like flotilla over to
Yeah.
see the fireworks, right? It would be, yeah.
So there's not enough water then.
Yeah, and it's-
On that
it's-
I
side.
know. Well, that was my point before.
Well, there's enough water for kayaks. There's not enough water for boats
Yeah,
to
I'm
use.
boat, that's-
kayaking from that.
Oh, fair enough.
Anyways, it's coming. So we'll keep you posted every so often.
Yeah,
Oh, I
it's a
think
good
it's, I think it's
presentation.
great.
Yeah.
You know, and I would love to see it happen. I
Yeah.
really would.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's been too many years.
So are we good with June 14th? We'll talk about the recreational marijuana discussion and the charge, 28th broadband. You guys want to stick with that schedule or make any changes?
Yeah, that sounds good.
One thing I did notice in the charge, just real quick, I don't want to hang up to be any longer, but as everyone thinks about a frequency of meetings, the CB shall meet no less than once per month. We should change that because everybody, if we're gonna do it to 12 times a year. And, a minimum of 12 times a year.
Yeah,
Because we
yeah.
want, I thought we've always done in the past. Just taking up, the month of July, and that one year, we think we took July and August
Yeah,
off.
yeah. If we can take August off, we'll try this year too.
So
but-
the way I did it with my organization is that I'm recommending, baseline meetings, at least for them, at least two, but I might say at least say 4. And then at the discretion of the chair can call additional meetings.
Yeah, that's
That's
exactly.
easy.
So, but all I'm saying, if this is
Yeah,
saying we
I
should be
agree.
12, 12 months, we'll have 12 meetings. They don't have to be on
Yep.
one a month, So
Exactly.
Good comment.
just a quick comment before we break.
Okay. Motion to
Motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Yeah,
Aye.
it happened.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.